This is Willow Creek, right here. Winds around here. I'll show you that big butte up on top there. I'll show it to you from the top side. I've done videos here before. The reason I'm showing you Willow Creek area right here, and there you can see the the creek goes down there and around, and it's really quite a beautiful area. Osborne Russell, one of the mountain men, one of the fur trappers, he wrote a journal called Journal of a Trapper. It's edited by Aubrey L. Haynes. It's an absolutely magnificent account of the fur trapping, the fur trade, and his experience here in the fur trade and the mountain man experience. It's a classic tale. He was here on Willow Creek. He describes Willow Creek area. And it's fascinating that it just happens to be in my backyard. My house is about 10 miles over that ridge right there. So within 10 minutes I can be right here. It's a fascinating area. It's kind of a dry, dusty area. It's got clumps of trees, and then it's got clumps of quaky asps, and he described that in his journal. Russell described that in his journal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up above here. I'm going to go up right there. I'm going to go up above right there and video a downshot onto Willow Creek here. He was here fur trapping. He describes that. He helped found Fort Hall on the Fort Hall Indian Reservation out by Pocatello. It's about 45 miles due south, that direction. Right up over that hill, 45 miles is Fort Hall. And so he wandered around here for a while, 1830s, about the time Joseph Smith was building up Kirtland and Nauvoo. Kind of interesting. He was out here with the American Fur Trading Company with several people, 50 or 60 men. Jim Bridger, he met Jim Bridger several times and knew him. So fascinating account. It's fascinating to realize now that I'm rereading this book. When I first read it, I didn't recognize this was the area. And I didn't actually read it all the way through. I had browsed through it before, though. But this is it. This is the country. He could have very well been right here on this strip. Well, he was. But I mean right here. It's fascinating to me. Here we are. This is Willow Creek. This is Willow Creek. Beautiful little area. It comes winding around here. It goes down over there. Then it winds way back into that region there. Then it goes off behind. See that diamond? That fascinating diamond right there? Such an interesting rock formation. The creek weaves all the way around that and then goes around behind and through the rest of the country. This is the creek that Russell claimed he was on, said he was on, and he describes the country. And I want to read this to you. I want to read this this account to you from the Journal of a Trapper. Can you see me? Gosh, I've got the sun right in my eyes. You probably don't want to see me. You'd rather see the country. I can't blame you. Anyway, this is on page 14 of the Journal of a Trapper. He says and he spent a lot of time on Blackfoot River and on Bear River, and that's south of me, Blackfoot River is south of me about 20 miles, and then Bear River and Bear Lake is on the border between Idaho and Utah. Fort Hall is about 45 miles south of me, and he helped found Fort Hall with several other people. But he said, we took a northeast course through the dry plains covered with wild sage and sandhills about 15 miles to the foot of the mountain, and encamped at a small spring which sinks in the plain soon after leaving the mountain. Here we killed a couple of fine buffaloes and took some of the best meat. On the 18th, we crossed a low mountain in an east direction, about 12 miles, and encamped on a stream called Gray's Creek. That's this one. Gray's Lake is back over this way, probably southeast of me, about 35 miles. Dan Creek comes down through here, through this area, and Willow Creek also starts up here. The headwaters of Willow Creek is up where Gray's Creek is, and then Gray's Lake is out there. It's kind of a flat, marshy area. I'll go there sometime and show you that also. But then he walked along these streams, and he was fur trapping. He was trapping the beaver and things like that. This empties into the Snake River about 40 miles above Fort Hall. On the 19th, we traveled east through a rough, broken, mountainous country about 12 miles and encamped on a small branch of the same stream. Now they're coming up Willow Creek, is what they're doing. This country affords no timber excepting the quaking asp, which grows in small scrubby groves in the nooks and ravines among the hills. On the 20th, we left the waters of Gray's Creek and crossed a low place in the mountains in an east direction to a small stream running into Lewis Fork. Lewis's Fork is the river up here, a region here in Idaho we call Swan Valley. That's where the Palisades Dam is. So he had come all the way up through this country, and he was trapping fur along this creek here. He very well could have seen this very country I'm videoing right now. It's fascinating. In the footnote, he says, they say, this stream is now known as Willow Creek, though a fork of it bears the name John Gray's Lake Outlet. And that's about 35 miles south-southeast of me. It was named for John Gray. He was a half-breed Iroquois employed by Peter Skane Ogden. Gray is credited with the discovery of several prominent features in this region, in this area that I live in. This is my backyard. I love this. I love his descriptions of the Quakies, too, because, I mean, that is so spot on. You can see this is pretty rough, dry country with a lot of sage. And then you come over right to there, there's a group of Quakies. And I mean, it's just classic description of the country. Everywhere there are little clumps and groups of Quakies. And the land is really dry. And he talks about the buffalo, and he talks about hunting the bear. They had a lot of bear here at one time. Apparently the grizzlies were quite prominent here. He has several encounters with grizzlies, and he talks about hunting the black-tailed deer, one of his favorite pastimes. And he describes the plains with the buffalo. You know, you can just imagine the herds and herds of buffalo. And he talks about hunting elk, and he talks about his trouble with the Indians. It's an absolute classic mountain man tale. And this is the country that he was talking about. He spent a lot of time up in Montana also. See, Fort Hall's about, 40 miles south of me, 45 miles south of me, around Pocatello area. Let me go on the other side, and I'll show you the rest of Willow Creek. You're seeing a shot of the Black Cliffs, and then when I pan over here, you can see Willow Creek right down there. Right down there. This is the creek where the fur trappers trapped the beaver and the otter. And let me see if I can get this camera straightened out a little bit. This is where the history of the American West occurred. This is part of it. This very creek right here. Russell came and trapped the fur and hunted the animals and explored the West. You can see the creek meander way down over there. You can see that magnificent shot of that cliff and the rock. And there's a classic example of the groves of Quakies that he was talking about, the small groups of Quakies over there. You can see the shrub brush. You can imagine the thousands and thousands of buffalo that were over there. There's some more patches of Quakies. But these creeks, they in fact, I believe there was a dam down here a few years ago, a beaver dam on Willow Creek down here. But you can see there, hopefully, more of those groves of Quakies. He had encounters with a lot of bear. There was a lot of bear here. He talks about hunting the buffalo a lot. It's a fascinating situation there. But you can see that creek meandering around, just lazily winding around. It's a beautiful spot for the beaver to have their dams. I'm going to walk over to this other end. I believe there is a beaver dam on this. I'll go check this out. Okay, I came up over here on this promontory point. I could have swore that a couple of years ago I saw Beaver Dam right down there. I know I've seen beaver in Willow Creek. There are beaver here. And I know up above toward Palisades, several of the creeks up Dan Creek and Little Elk Creek and Big Elk Creek and those, they have beaver in them still too. But you can see this creek just lazily flows around. And you can see the Quakies, the spots of Quakies on the hills. It was great country for them to hunt in. It still is good hunting. There's another patch of those Quakies there. You can see it's high desert country. It's high desert country. It's pretty rough, pretty dry, Very difficult to make a living in, that's for sure. Very difficult to survive as far as that goes. But that's the idea of the Mountain Man adventure and the Fur Trappers. You have now seen the very area where one of the most famous ones, Osborne Russell, was here. And he trapped beaver right here. He went up into Yellowstone for a lot of the time too.